All right, if you're on a fertility journey, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's just this sea of information, right? It can be so overwhelming. So today, we're going to cut through all that noise and focus on one of the biggest supplements out there, CoQ10. You see it everywhere, don't you? In forums, in articles, CoQ10 is thrown around like this miracle nutrient for egg quality, especially if you're doing IVF. But look, when you're putting so much on the line, emotionally, financially, everything, you need real answers, not just hype. So what's the real story? What does the science actually say? Let's dig in. Okay, first up, your egg's biological battery. To really get why CoQ10 matters, we have to talk about the egg itself. And honestly, the best way to think about a human egg is like a tiny, superpowered battery. It needs a ton of energy to do its job right. So where does all that energy come from? Well, it comes from these things. Mitochondria. They're basically the tiny little power plants inside every single cell we have. And when it comes to a healthy egg, they are absolutely essential. And get this, the scale we're talking about here is just mind-blowing. A single human egg can have up to 600,000 mitochondria. That's more than any other cell in your entire body. It just goes to show you the insane amount of energy that one little cell needs to have a fighting chance at becoming a healthy embryo. But, and this is the big but, here's the challenge. As we get older, those little power plants, the mitochondria, they start to slow down. They don't work as well. And you can see the difference right here. Younger eggs, they're buzzing with energy, which helps the chromosomes divide perfectly. But older eggs, the energy level drops, and that's when you get a higher risk of errors, what's known as aneuploidy. And those errors are often what lead to a failed cycle or, unfortunately, a miscarriage. So where does CoQ10 come into all this? Well, think of it as the spark plug for those cellular power plants. The whole idea is that by boosting your CoQ10, you can help get those mitochondria fired up again, giving the egg the juice it needs to do its job without making mistakes. All right, next section. The evidence versus the guidelines. Because look, the theory sounds great, right? It makes perfect sense. But what does the actual research say? This is where we need to take a step back and have a little reality check, because there's a bit of a disconnect between the exciting studies and what the official medical groups recommend. So the good news first, the data we have so far, it's really promising. Some big studies called meta-analyses suggest that taking CoQ10 could improve clinical pregnancy rates. It's also been linked to fewer canceled IVF cycles, especially for women with something called poor ovarian response, or POR, which basically means they don't produce a lot of eggs. This is the stuff that gets everyone so excited. But then there is the other side of the coin. You've got the big official bodies, like the American Society for Reproductive Medicine, that's ASRM, and they're a lot more cautious. This quote right here really sums up why they're holding back. And here's the bottom line on that. Organizations like ASRM and their European equivalent ESHRE, they have an incredibly high bar for what they'll recommend. For them, the only thing that really, truly counts as proof is an increase in live birth rates. That's the gold standard. So even though the data on getting pregnant looks good, we just don't have enough of those huge definitive studies showing more babies are born. And until we do, they can't make it a standard official recommendation. Keyword there is yet. So you've got the science, you've got the debate. Let's say you talk to your doctor and decide CoQ10 is worth a shot. The next big question is, which one do you buy? So let's get practical with a little buyer's guide for the US. First thing you'll notice is there are two main types, ubiquinone and ubiquinol. Okay, so ubiquinone, that's the one you'll see most often. It's the form used in most of the big studies, it's cheaper, and the standard dose is about 600 milligrams a day. Then there's ubiquinol. It's basically a more active form that's easier for your body to absorb, but it's also way more expensive. Honestly, for most people, a good quality ubiquinone is going to be totally fine and get the job done. Okay, now listen up, because this part is super important, especially if you're in the US, where the supplement industry is kind of like the Wild West. The number one thing you want to look for is this little seal, USP verified. This means an outside group has actually tested what's in the bottle to make sure it's pure and has the amount it says it does. And a quick second tip, a lot of these use soy, so if you have an allergy, just double check the label. And just to make your life a little easier, here are some actual brands you can look for. The Kirkland brand from Costco and Nature Made are both USB verified, which is awesome, but they do have soy. If you need soy-free, check out Target's brand Up and Up or Spring Valley from Walmart. Super easy to find. All right, you've got your bottle. So what now? Let's talk about the 90-day timeline. This covers the two biggest questions people have. When should I start and when should I stop? So here's why everyone talks about 90 days. It takes about 3 months for an egg to go through its final maturation process. That's why starting CoQ10 at least 90 days before your retrieval is considered the gold standard. But hey, if you don't have that much time, don't sweat it. Even starting 30 days before is way better than not starting at all. And when do you stop? The general rule is to take your last dose on the day of your trigger.
Okay, we've been talking a lot about eggs, but let's not forget, this is a team sport. So what about your partner? Let's talk about the other half of the equation.
You know that villain we've been talking about, oxidative stress? Well, it doesn't just go after eggs, it's a huge problem for sperm, too. It can cause something called DNA fragmentation. The best way to picture it is like the genetic blueprints for the baby getting little rips and tears in them. And that kind of damage can really affect how an embryo grows. And guess what? Just like it helps eggs, CoQ10 can help sperm too, because it's a powerful antioxidant. For male partners, the recommended daily dose is usually somewhere between 200 and 400 milligrams. It can really help protect the sperm and improve the overall quality. And this really is the main takeaway here. Infertility is not just one person's issue. It is a 50-50 equation. When you focus on the health of both partners, you're truly giving yourselves the best possible shot at success. So let's circle back to our original question. Is CoQ10 a miracle? Probably not. But what it is a low-risk tool with some good science behind it that might just help power up the very cells that create life. The data is promising, it's not crazy expensive, and the potential benefits are huge. So now that you have the facts, you can have a really smart, informed talk with your doctor to figure out what's the right choice for your journey.